All right, let's try and pull back the curtain on this complex moment we're seeing. Today, we've got a really fascinating stack of reports. They paint a vivid, sometimes pretty unsettling picture of, well, a world on edge. What I found particularly striking looking through these sources was just the sheer contrast. You've got this intense conflict raging on the ground in Ukraine, and then simultaneously, these incredibly high stakes diplomatic moves happening thousands of miles away. And while, a lot of the global attention might be fixed on those negotiations, the brutal human cost of the war just keeps going day after day, relentlessly. So our mission today is really to cut through some of that noise. We want to show how these two almost parallel stories of ground war and the diplomatic chess match are constantly shaping each other. We've basically distilled all the sources you shared. We've got frontline reports from both sides, plus critical insights into yesterday's pivotal discussions in Washington. The aim is to give you a clear, concise understanding of what's been happening lately. And at the heart of it all is this furious tug of war. Russia's relentless military pressure, Ukraine's frankly astonishing ability to absorb it, and then these talks in Washington that have, well, they still have the whole world holding its breath. Okay, so while the world's gaze was fixed on D.C., the grim reality back in Ukraine couldn't be ignored, and nowhere was this clearer than in Kyiv. It's a city that just continues to bear the brutal brunt of this conflict. Yesterday morning, Monday, heavy Russian drone attacks hit residential areas. This is near the Russian border in northeast Ukraine. Ukrainian authorities confirmed it. Governor Oleksandr Syrskyi, specifically a drone strike, killed 7 people, injured 20. Devastating.
And that's just one incident.
Exactly. The Ukrainian Air Force also reported Russia launching 140 drones against the entire country overnight.
140. That number alone tells you something.
It does. And Kharkiv, as you probably know, is just a constant target. Just last week, remember, a ballistic missile attack shattered about 1,000 windows in different buildings. People had to evacuate.
Right. The infrastructure damage mounts up, too.
Absolutely. Imagine the scene. Reuters journalists saw medics treating people right there in the street, rescue teams going through damaged homes. It's stark. Ukraine's foreign minister, Andrei Sybiha, didn't hold back on social media either. He called Russia a murderous war machine demanding transatlantic pressure. That's a clear nod to NATO, obviously.
Strong words, understandably.
Very. But despite these really grim reports, the materials also show this surprising side of resilience, tactical ingenuity even, from the Ukrainians. The commander-in-chief, Oleksandr Syrskyi, gave an interview to RBC Ukraine. He presented numbers that seemed clearly aimed at boosting morale, for the troops, the public, even investors.
Trying to control the narrative a bit.
Precisely. He claimed that over the past year, Ukraine shot down more than 3,200 Shahed drones using only helicopters.
Helicopters. That's interesting. Tell me more about these Shaheds.
Right. So if you're not familiar, they were originally Iranian designed, but Russia mass produces them now, calls them Geran 2. They've become Moscow's main weapon for long-range attacks, hitting cities, vital infrastructure, just like we saw in Kharkiv.
Okay. So they're widespread.
Very. And Syrskyi specifically praised this helicopter tactic, said Army aviation performed very well, and helicopters with machine guns are extremely effective.
Machine guns against drones.
Yeah.
Seems almost low-tech, but if it works.
Apparently so. He also stressed that combating these Shaheds is a top defense planning priority for Ukraine in 2025, because Russia's just ramping up production.
And that ramp up, well, that's where it gets really fascinating. And frankly, quite chilling.
Yeah.
The sheer scale of this drone warfare. The Ukrainian Air Force reported 6,129 drones launched in July alone. That's a new record. It beat June's 5,337. And get this, that's a 14-fold increase compared to July of last year. 14 times.
That's staggering.
It is, and it points to a strategy beyond just battlefield gains. Russia seems to be weaponizing attrition. These drones are relatively cheap, launching so many forces Ukraine into an economically unsustainable defense. It's not just about territory. It's about bleeding them dry, resource-wise.
So how can they possibly keep up? That's the huge question.
Exactly.
Well, Syrskyi's answer points towards interceptor drones. He sees them as the most promising solution, and there seems to be some movement there. On July 14th, Arsen Zimadilov, he heads Ukraine's defense procurement agency. He confirmed they've contracted tens of thousands of these interceptor drones, trying to boost their air defenses.
Tens of thousands. Okay, that's a significant number, too.
It is, but then you have the counter-warning. Vadim Skibitsky, deputy head of Ukrainian military intelligence, he warned Russia plans to produce a staggering 79,000 Shahed drones in 2025.
79,000. If that number is even close to accurate, Well, you connect that to the bigger picture. Military analysts worry it allows Moscow to just keep up these high-intensity bombardments. It risks overwhelming Ukraine's defenses, no matter how many interceptors they get. It becomes this critical race, doesn't it? Production versus interception.
A race, and like
Yeah.
you said, a strategic effort to wear down resources and willpower through sheer volume. A battle of economics as much as arms.
Precisely.
Now, of course, every conflict has multiple narratives. To get the full picture of yesterday, we also need to look at Moscow's account. Their version paints a drastically different reality for the same 24 hours. An official report from the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed their forces significantly intensified attacks. They mentioned 148 different Ukrainian locations,
140 occasions.
and their report listed really extensive destruction of Ukrainian heavy equipment. They claimed 6 tanks, including 2 German Leopards.
Western equipment always gets highlighted.
Always. 18 armored combat vehicles, including American Bradleys, British Mastiffs, and American M113, 61 other military vehicles, 13 artillery pieces, including a British FH-70 howitzer.
Quite the list.
It continues. They claimed eliminating 100 long-range drones, specifically UJ-22 impaling its models, saying they were being prepped for launch. Also claimed hitting a Grad-11 multiple launch rocket system. That's basically a truck firing lots of rockets. Plus electronic warfare stations crucial for jamming and comms disruption.
EW is critical in modern warfare.
And specific radars, too, an American ANTPQ-50, an Israeli Rada model. They also said a drone operator training center was hit. And Ukrainian logistics took a blow. 8 depots destroyed, 5 ammo, 3 fuel.
Targeting logistics as standard playbook disrupts the front line.
Right. And finally, their air defenses claimed interceptions. 4 guided bombs, 2 American HIMARS rockets, and 141 Ukrainian drones.
So, a very different picture indeed. Success is claimed on all fronts.
Completely different.
And this provides that stark contrast, doesn't it? Really highlights the fog of war. Both sides, predictably, present their successes and the enemy's losses. It's standard in conflict reporting. The critical thinking exercise for you, the listener, is just to understand these are narratives, presented through different lenses, designed for different audiences and purposes. Recognizing that helps you interpret the information more, effectively.
Absolutely. And this unrelenting pressure on the ground, all these claims and counterclaims, it creates this grim backdrop for the diplomatic maneuvering. Which brings us to yesterday in Washington. Far from the front lines, but arguably the true main battlefield. Less about explosions, more about pronouncements, political leverage.
High-stakes diplomacy.
Extremely. President Zelensky was there for crucial meetings with Donald Trump and also with European leaders, and the pressure on him, even before the talk started, was reportedly immense.
You could imagine.
Even before meeting Zelensky, Trump sent what sources called a very direct message to Ukraine, essentially. Give up hope of regaining Crimea or joining NATO.
Wow, laying it out there right beforehand.
Yeah. And this is significant when you remember Trump's meeting with Putin in Alaska not long ago, where some said he extended the red carpet. His current stance clearly pressures Kyiv to accept a peace deal. His team insists on concessions from both sides.
Which raises that important question about sort of the perceived burden of peace, doesn't it? After meeting Putin, Trump seems to have shifted the responsibility for ending the war largely onto Zelensky. It implies Ukraine holds the main key to stopping it, which is a powerful message to send right before these talks.
A very powerful message. And he didn't hold back on social media either. Trump's post was blunt. Remember how it started? No way to get Crimea back? Crimea that Obama gave up 12 years ago without a shot?
Bringing up Obama, interesting.
Right. Then, directly aimed at Zelensky. And no Ukraine and NATO. He even added, Zelensky can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants, or can continue fighting.
Putting the choice squarely on him.
Exactly. And it's notable because Trump previously seemed to support an immediate ceasefire. Now he seems to lean towards Russia's approach, negotiate a full deal while the fighting goes on.
A definite shift in his public stance, then.
Seems so. Now, Zelensky, for his part, offered a strong counter-narrative to all this. He commented on those recent Russian attacks we talked about, specifically accusing Russia of using cynical attacks against civilians precisely to undermine these Washington talks.
Connecting the battlefield events directly to the diplomacy.
Directly. He framed it as Putin's usual practice committing demonstrative atrocities to keep pressure on Ukraine and Europe and to, quote, humiliate diplomatic efforts. His own diplomatic position remains pretty firm. He's practically rejected Putin's proposal, which includes ceding the rest of Donetsk. Instead, he wants an immediate ceasefire to actually deepen peace negotiations.
So ceasefire first, then talk details, the opposite of the other approach.
Right. And the European perspective was also really crucial here. Leaders from the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Finland, the EU, NATO, they all flew to Washington, not just for solidarity, but to push hard for strong security guarantees for Ukraine in any potential deal.
We want assurances. Understandable.
They apparently saw a light at the end of the tunnel in Trump's seeming willingness to provide security guarantees after a deal is reached. They spent yesterday trying to get more details on what that actually means.
The devil is always in the details with guarantees like that.
Always. The global media reaction was intense. The day was seen as decisive. A British paper, The Day, headlined, D-Day at the White House.
High drama.
Totally. A German paper, Die Welt, called it the moment of truth for Trump. Even the German foreign minister said it was probably no exaggeration to say the whole world is looking at Washington.
Yeah, the stakes felt incredibly high.
And adding more layers to this whole diplomatic tightrope walk were other developments showing the conflict's, far-reaching global impact. For instance, the Druzhba oil pipeline carries Russian oil to Hungary, and Slovakia was interrupted yesterday.
Oh, right. Energy politics always lurking.
Hungary immediately blamed Ukraine for an attack on a transformation station. Ukraine's foreign minister, well, he didn't confirm or deny, but rather pointedly suggested Hungary could send complaints to Moscow, not Kyiv.
Bit of tension there between Kyiv and Budapest.
Seems like it. And the global reach was underscored, too, by news that India's Prime Minister Modi apparently spoke by phone with Putin yesterday, thanking Putin for sharing his impressions of the meeting with Trump.
Interesting. India playing its own diplomatic game there. And, all this really highlights the interconnectedness, the energy situation, these accusations between allies like Hungary and Ukraine, even diplomatic calls involving India. It shows the ripples of the Ukraine conflicts spread far beyond its borders. They impact international relations in so many different ways. These aren't just isolated things. They're all threads in a much bigger, much more complex geopolitical tapestry.
Absolutely. So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've seen this powerful mix, haven't we? Brutal military strategy on the ground, Ukraine's surprising tactical successes, but also future challenges against overwhelming numbers, Russia's claims of causing heavy losses, and then this intensely charged diplomatic arm wrestling in Washington. It's clear how these different facets just constantly influence each other. It's an incredibly complex, shifting landscape.
Constantly evolving.
Right. And maybe beyond just the headlines of peace talks and military claims, what our sources hint at is a kind of fundamental redefinition of security itself. When a global power like Russia can so brazenly ignore international norms, and then a former, possibly future U.S. president signals a willingness to redraw maps based on, well, his own terms, the very bedrock of established alliances, guarantees, it starts to feel fragile, doesn't it?
It certainly shakes confidence in the old system.
Yeah. So the key insight here might be that peace isn't just a final agreement on paper. Maybe it's more like a constant, ongoing negotiation of power and trust, especially in a world where the old rules seem to be, well, shedding pretty rapidly. So given these conflicting demands, we've talked about Ukraine's absolute desire for sovereignty and NATO membership versus Trump and Russia pushing for immediate concessions on territory and alliances. What does peace really look like anymore? And maybe more importantly, what will strong security guarantees actually entail in this evolving global order? Something to definitely keep chewing on as these stories continue to unfold.